where best friends and next-door neighbors, Willow and Lillian, spill the tea on murder, mysteries, and other things that go bump in the night. So get your favorite teacup ready, and let's get into it. Welcome to Cruelty Podcast. This is Lillian, and with me is Willow.
Hello.
And it's still cult month.
It's cult month.
Yeah. And I already explained on Maris Monday why I went away, why there wasn't an episode. And my cat was sick, and I was very upset. I was upsetty spaghetti, but she's fine now. And also, Will, my oldest, got bonked on the head and had to go to the hospital. At work, yeah. They're fine, but it was a lot. And plus, we were snowed in.
It's been a chaotic week and then also snowed in.
We were snowed in, then iced in, and now we're fogged in. Like, I would not drive in this shit. No. It's thicker than snot out there.
It was so scary walking over here, and it's literally like, 15 feet?
It's like 20, 30 feet.
We don't have big houses, and we're right next to each other.
Yeah, so really, like right on
I don't have to walk very far, but it was like a horror film walking over. I was terrified. I
know the white people urged to say it looked like Silent Hill, but bitch, it did.
It did.
It looked like a zombie fog out there.
I mean, yesterday it was gorgeous, and I was obsessed with it, but at night I don't like it.
And one of our neighbors like creamed a deer and totaled their car. It's dangerous, so I'm just not fucking going nowhere till this shit sorts itself out.
You really can't see far in front of you at all.
Like, I went to pick my kid up from work tonight, and it was fine going down, but on the way up, the fog rolled in, and I could not see like 10 feet in front of the car. It's so
like
scary.
The whole state of Arkansas, too. Like the entire fucking state.
Well, we were like sub-zero temperatures, and then we immediately jumped to like 50 degrees today.
Like at night.
At night.
At nighttime. So, yeah, that whole next day. And then we're like a bunch of hills and valleys. And so the valleys just pocket all the mist.
It's the earth dying. It's fine. Anyway, cults. What? So we're covering the Order of the Solar Temple. Trigger warning for infant death and suicide. Okay. So if that bothers you, click away because this is pretty gross and bad. I mean, I'm not going to get into gory details. It's just horrific to me. I find this cult particularly heinous, and it is considered one of the worst cults, certainly one of the deadliest. So we'll get into it. So if you haven't listened to this week's Maris Monday, please do, because it was over Aleister Crowley. He was a British guy who popularized Western occultism and influenced popular culture to a degree I don't think most people grasp. Like, we wouldn't have had the counterculture hippie movement of the 60s if it weren't for Aleister Crowley. And we wouldn't have had this cult if it weren't for Aleister Crowley. Even though they were more into other things, it definitely influenced their belief, especially in ritual magic and stuff like that. And naturally, this ends in death and tragedy, or we wouldn't be talking about it. The Order of the Solar Temple was founded in Geneva, Switzerland in 1984. The founding members of the cult were, Luc Jouet and Joseph de Mombro. Jouret. Sorry, I'm just making sure I say it right. It's not Jouet, it's Jouret. So I will talk a little about the founders before I go deep into the cult and its philosophies and practices, because I think what's really interesting this is like our second theme of doing a cult month. And what I find most fascinating is what drives people to, number one, found a cult, and what drives them to join a cult.
Right.
And I think I see a pretty clear pattern after researching these cases, and I'll talk about it here in a minute. Joseph de Mombro, known as Joe to friends and family, was a jeweler by trade. He specialized in processing gold, and he also got really heavily into clockmaking, which I find interesting. But he'd wanted to be a musician. He didn't want to make jewelry, and he didn't want to make clocks. He wanted to be a musician. However, as he was going through his education, his musical education, higher education, World War II started, and it completely derailed anything he wanted to do. And so he felt very bitter and kind of disenfranchised by this. And at some point, like, research on him is pretty sketchy. I find that anything before the 50s happens, you just get like records are just not great. They were on paper. And so at some point he got arrested for fraud. And I think that sets him up pretty good as a cult leader to me, the fraud.
Yeah.
He only spent 6 months in jail. It wasn't a big deal. I just think that he goes on to start a very murdery cult later should be no surprise. In the 1950s, he started practicing spiritualism. And so I'll take a moment to explain what spiritualism is. It's not a religion per se, and it's not really a philosophy. It's more of a practice of trying to communicate with the dead. And you see like a rise in popularity in spiritualism anytime we have pandemics and war. Mm-hmm. And so clearly after World War II, there was a huge rise in spiritualism, just like there was after the Civil War and the Spanish War.
So he means it more of like communing, speaking with
through mediums.
From the other side. Mm-hmm. Not like, I'm a spiritualist.
No, that's been co-opted by like TikTok girls. That's not what that shit means. It doesn't mean you're spiritual.
He's not like reading chakras and things like that.
It's not about your aura or energy healing. Oh my God, Willow. It's about talking to dead people. Yeah, he wanted to contact the dead. And I think what led him to want to do this is that his father left his family when he was still pretty young, and he literally never heard from him again. Searched for him, couldn't find him.
So he assumed he was dead.
Dad went out for smokes and never went back, so he assumed he was dead. And I think that's why he got into all these esoteric practices.
He just had brothers and sisters somewhere else.
Yeah, he just went and started a new life, buddy. But whatever. Meh. So, yeah, he was fascinated with the occult largely because of his father. But then it's like one of those things. He got into it, what I think, for pretty innocent means. He just wanted to talk to what he assumed was his dead dad, and then ended up really falling down the rabbit hole. And I mean, I can get it.
I've been down all of the rabbit holes pretty much.
Oh, I've been down some holes.
Back and forth, up and down.
Some of them didn't have rabbits in there.
Oh, no.
Yeah. The occult filled the empty spot that his father left. He joined the Rosicrucians. And Rosicrucians, I'm not going to get too into it because he joins like 50 cults, this guy. Okay. He's really big into joining and starting cults. He started 3 cults before he started the Order of the Solar Temple. I'm not going to list each one of them because they just fizzled out. Because this guy had the charisma of a rock. He was not particularly interesting. He wasn't a good public speaker. He was just really into this shit. And I think when he started out, he really believed in it. But Rosicrucians, this is going back to like the Knights Templar and like the Gnostic texts of the Bible. And we'll get into that a little bit.
Which is why he likes Aleister Crowley and all of that too.
Well, of course. Yeah, because Aleister Crowley was really into the Kabbalah. But then he made his own thing, Thelema. And, if you want to hear all about that, please just go listen to that episode because I'm not going to talk about it anymore during this one. I fucking hate Aleister Crowley.
I hate him so much, dude.
He's such a fucking goat turd.
His name makes my skin want to set on fire.
I love the name Aleister, and it's Maris's middle name.
It's a great name.
It's a beautiful name, but he's just a fuckwad.
But when you put the Crowley at the end,
you're like, turd. Yeah. Turd alert.
I would like to puke now. Yeah.
It's all the goat fucking, isn't it? Yeah. It's partly that. Yeah. So he was like, he became the head of a faction of another cult in the 60s in France. Like I said, he is just jumping around from thing to thing to thing to thing.
It's like he's joining random book clubs and not finishing the book.
Yeah. In 1973, he founded his first cult. The Center for Preparation was founded on New Age mysticism, and he spent 3 years running this cult. The belief of this cult was preparation for the New Age that was coming, clearly. Because of the name.
I was wondering what preparation was.
It's not Preparation H.
Not hemorrhoids.
No. Oh. It would have been better if it were hemorrhoids. What he thought is that the universe was about to transform and ascend to a higher dimension, so they had to prepare. Man, it just, every time, it's always like, just 2 more weeks, bro. Trust me, bro. It's going to happen in 2 weeks, bro. Now's not the right time, bro. Just 2 weeks. Trust me. All of his cults are like this. Members of this cult lived in a commune, as did the other cults he would start, and they practiced ritual magic, largely taken from Crowley's teachings. During this time, Joseph traveled throughout Europe as a spiritual teacher and member of the Great White Brotherhood. Now, yes, see, like me and like everyone else listening, you're just like, not this shit again.
God.
This is some Nazi KKK shit, isn't it, Lillian? And I say unto thee, no, it isn't.
It's not Aryan?
No. It's just
Why
unfortunate.
is it called that?
White is in purity and light.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I know. Now,
Is
all
that
these
the same as black magic versus white magic?
Yes. Yeah, we always make black stuff bad, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me started.
I know.
No,
I know.
No, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Fuck
I want to Stairmaster this shit.
Okay. So when...
Yes,
because listen, I know a lot of people out there listening are little baby witches. Hello.
Yes.
And they're like,
Gather
Lillian is an old witch. And that's true-ish, but I'm more of an occultist, so I'm very familiar with black magic and white magic. White magic is passive. It is protection, healing, stuff like that.
Light.
Not a light versus dark. It's just passive. You're not doing anything. You're protecting yourself.
Gotcha.
You're not exerting force of will. You're kind of reining the force of will in. Black magic is kinetic magic. You're doing shit. You're bringing money into your house. You're bringing power to yourself. And if someone's pissing you off, you're going to hex the living shit out of them. Because... So you'll get, and I've already had this argument on Facebook lightly. I'm not going to get too into it because I just block people who annoy me. It is an echo chamber because it's my Facebook, and I don't have any patience.
You can really tell your generation right now,
right? Just fuck it.
It's my Facebook.
Well, it's mine, and I don't want you coming on there being contrary. Go be contrary somewhere else. This is my rule, and I am an empress of evil, and I shall smite you or something. Anyway, so. None of this, like, oh, karma's gonna get you, the 3x3 roll, came around until Wicca was introduced, which was made by a man, and it just puts up hetero, cis-normative gender roles for pagan shit. Skip it. Go to the pagan shit. They don't have no 3x nothing rule. If somebody harms you, you have every right to put their name in a jar and piss on it and hope bad shit happens to them.
Sorry.
Retribution is divine. Fuck a bitch.
Yeah.
If they are stepping to you, you will step back with more force, or else you're weak and then you just deserve what happens to you. I don't know. I just don't like...
Just be careful and watch what cultures you're taking from.
Do not appropriate other people's cultures.
Because you could really fuck some shit up, put some shit in the wrong hand and do some shit at the wrong time.
You
know?
There's this such... Like, let's take voodoo and hoodoo as a good example.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
I don't touch it. Why? Because it's not my culture, and I didn't grow up being initiated into these rituals.
I have a lot of respect for those cultures.
Absolutely. Voodoo's some powerful shit.
Yeah, it is.
Don't fuck with it.
It is.
If it's not your culture, leave it alone. Yeah. Put it down, leave it alone. I'm not even saying you gotta be white. That's not what I'm saying. There are plenty of people who grew up in Louisiana around that shit.
If you live in a place where there is voodoo culture and you're not part of the culture,
and they bring you in,
or you want to go visit their shop and buy things from them,
that's different.
That's different.
But yeah, just and look, it's a closed practice. Unless you're brought in, it ain't for you.
Exactly.
So, but Western occultism, which is kind of my bag, you don't need anything but hubris. And I have a lot of that, so we're good. But I just kind of wanted to get into that. I really hate the idea of black equals bad. No, it just equals your force of will.
Or black equals African and white equals European.
There we go. We want that shit out of here.
There are people that believe that about magic.
Yes, they do. They will put like voodoo and hoodoo into the black category. It's not black magic.
European witchcraft into the white magic.
European witchcraft, and look, you know, because I've gotten into arguments with people about all kinds of appropriation things, like spell jars, for example. traditionally done in hoodoo a lot, but it's been done in every witchcraft culture on the planet.
I was about to say, yeah.
Throughout all
dug
space and
up
time.
those jars on every continent.
Yes,
So.
we have.
Yeah.
And so it's all in all cultures. It's just the way you go about it. So I just want to be clear where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Black magic, I don't like to call it that. I'd call it the left-hand path instead, which is just fuck around and find out magic. That's what that is.
Makes me feel good.
It does. It's very empowering.
Yes, it
and
is.
if you have any questions about any of this shit, you can come to me. I know a lot about it. I'm happy to answer questions. And if you are Wiccan, I'm not putting it down, but it is not for me. And since it's not for me, those rules don't apply to me. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
They apply to you, but they don't apply to me. That's how that works.
Goes for all religions and beliefs.
Abso-fucking-lutely. All right, now that soapbox is done,
I'm glad
off
you did
of it
that.
now.
I've been needing to talk about that.
I just needed it.
Yeah.
I just needed it. So anyway, the Great White Brotherhood has nothing to do with whiteness, although of course everyone in it's white.
It really does sound like it, though.
It is unfortunately named, but it was a group of people who believed they were the perfect human beings who were put on Earth to help humans evolve to their next level. And Joseph claimed to be a reincarnation of multiple important historical figures, such as Moses and the Pharaoh Akhenaten. Now, I'm going to give you a little history lesson, just a little bit, because I have been obsessed with ancient Egypt my literal entire life.
Same.
I think it's a neurodivergent trait.
Absolutely.
Dinosaurs, Egypt, the Titanic, what? We're all there, right?
Right.
All of my neurodiverse
Dig
friends.
in the ground, find fossils, cool rocks.
Oh, fossils and rocks. Yes. Ancient civilizations. Huh. Yeah. So ancient Egypt. Akhenaten was a very controversial figure in his day. As you know, they were monotheistic, meaning they worshipped many gods, but he went with monotheism, one god. And he didn't say he was a god, but more of a representation of that god on Earth, like a mouthpiece.
It was Ra, right?
Well, it was Amun-Ra, and then, but kind of, sort of, he kind of changed things around, so he made everyone in Egypt do that.
But his symbol was
the
sun god.
Yes, it was a solar deity.
Yeah.
And I mention it because it's relevant, because I don't think he would have said he was a reincarnation of Akhenaten unless he hadn't been reading all of Crowley's works, which were really heavily influenced by ancient Egypt. Because he stole it all, because he's a cunt. Anyway, Akhenaten, after his death, he was also deformed. He had a very strange appearance.
Right.
So now we're getting into ufology, because he had an elongated skull and his limbs were weird, and he was likely intersex.
Yeah, and also very inbred, right?
Oh, yeah. All the pharaohs were inbred as fuck.
His limbs were different lengths, and they did a lot of, he had to have, crutches and special shoes, and...
He didn't live long?
No, he was, a teenager?
No, he was an adult. I think he was in his 30s or 40s.
He was very small.
Yeah, he was not well. And after his death, the ancient Egyptians said, fuck this one god shit. They defaced all of his statues, and they went right back to monotheism. I'm just mentioning it because it's fun. It's fun to know things. I never get to use this knowledge. So, he was telling everybody he was Moses. Sure. But the Great White Brotherhood had an unfortunate name, and they should have rebranded. Anyway, let's move on to our next founder of the Order of the Solar Temple, and it is Luc Jouret. He was born in the Congo in 1947 during the Belgian occupation of the Congo. It changed over in the 50s back to indigenous rule after they came in, colonized, fucked it up. And so thus he moved back with his family to Belgium. He was a chronic pain sufferer, and he has something in common with Joseph. And that is, he had a dream to be an athlete. That's all he wanted. Except when he was 20, he got diagnosed with a rare form of arthritis in his hips. It was excruciating, and it absolutely obliterated his dream of becoming an athlete. It also really ruined his faith in modern medicine, because there was just nothing they can do. And at the time, they have drugs now that are great for arthritis, but back then they really didn't. And so he started seeking alternative means to heal himself. And in doing so, he stumbled across holistic medicine. And I'm not going to get started on it. I've already gone on an unhinged rant twice in this episode, and I don't need to do it again. I am all for holistic and natural medicine as a hobby. Okay, that's all we're going to say about it. We're going to leave it alone. In conjunction with regular medicine.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want.
I think it's just as necessary as eating a salad, drinking your water, all of that
Food
stuff.
is medicine.
Food is medicine. Herbs are medicine.
But food is also yummy.
Mm-hmm.
I just, if one more person come at me with, like, that ding-dong you ate's going to kill you. Well, being alive's going to kill me.
Honestly, there are some theories that millennials have been preserved because of the preservatives, and that's why we're not aging. So I'm going to keep eating.
All right. You know what I'm saying? I'm full of plastic.
I keep myself at room temperature, and
that's right. I haven't spoiled yet. Milk ain't gone bad, baby, if you know what I'm saying. Talking about my boobs.
God.
Anyway, so yeah, he's 20 years old, and he was in a wheelchair for long periods off and on. And I feel really bad for him because I was that age when I was in a wheelchair. It really sucks. He was devastated because it meant the end of his dreams. He went on to study medicine, but he had to repeat his course a couple times because of his chronic pain condition. Finally, he was able to graduate. After a brief stint in the military, he went on to practice holistic medicine in France. He started going to New Age groups and meetups and lectures, and then he started doing it himself. He became kind of like a motivational speaker. Now, it's important to note that in the 50s and 60s, psychology was a relatively new science. People were fascinated with it. Go watch some old movies from the 50s, and they will talk about psychoanalysts and stuff and Freud. It's really funny to listen to today because, you know, of course, we've made leaps and bounds ahead of where we started. Right. But he was really into that and holistic medicine. And so he was running in these New Age circles because, of course, you know, if you ever go to some New Age convention, you will find all kinds of wild stuff, but holistic medicine is a big part of that. I did a vendor at one, and so, like, a lady brought out a giant copper triangle, and people would sit in it, and she'd just, like, ring a bell in their face, and I was like, this is the best fucking thing I've ever seen.
It was a triangle, not a pyramid?
It was a pyramid, but that's what I meant. It was in a giant copper pyramid, and people are sitting there, and she's like, ding, 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 and I'm like, that is not doing shit.
Sound waves.
But I love it. I love it so much.
Honestly, I love a good gong circle.
Now that's different.
Shit feels good.
It do feel good. Drum circles. Damn. Whoa, you feel it in your butt.
Hell yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're just in the mood.
My butt a little bit.
I do shake on my butt. Mm-hmm. Yes, I can dance.
Yeah, she can. She's showed me once, and she would barely even do it. But yeah.
Oh yeah. I can throw ass. Okay.
She's got ass to throw,
and I have ass to throw. Stupid. Anyway, that's where he met Joseph DeMambro. And the two of them became like insta best friends.
Aw, like us. Yeah. She put her hair behind her ear and everything. That was cute.
Yes. After discovering how much they had in common and how much their beliefs aligned, they formed the Order of the Solar Temple in 1984 with Luc Jouret as the man, like, it's the man, the face of the cult, you know, like the main recruiter, because he had all the charisma. That is what Joseph was lacking, why his other cults failed, is because he just wasn't a very warm and friendly guy, but Luke was, and he could really talk up a storm. He's a motivational speaker, for crying out loud.
Right.
Yeah. It was his job. All he did was bring more people into the cult. Mm-hmm. And they had a very particular recruiting practice, and we'll get to that in a second. And Joseph took care of everything else. He took care of the finances, buying properties, you know, the rules, the ritual magic, the meditations.
The serious stuff.
Yeah, the super serious stuff. Yeah. The Solar Temple's philosophies were founded on the revival of the Knights Templar.
That, checks.
The Knights Templar, because I'm sure you've heard about them before. If you're ever into any conspiracy theory ever, they get brought up a lot.
It's the first one you hear.
Listen, I got involved in a very weird circle of events during the pandemic.
What?
Involving the Knights Templar and the Rosicrucian Order.
What are you talking about?
Look! Things happened.
I was there. Where, what?
I didn't do a lot of communicating with other people, but I started reading this book called Clock Shavings. And it was a book on a woman. She started a cult too, but whatever. This woman was using a Ouija board to like communicate with Baphomet. And she wrote this whole book about it. And a lot of it revolved around the Rosicrucians, the Gnostic texts, and the Knights Templar.
Okay.
She was on like Coast to Coast, AM, and a lot of other... And I became friends with her on Facebook.
Okay.
Because I found her book interesting. Oh, it was crazy pants. It was some of the most crazy pants shit. Like, I was like...
Yeah, sorry. No, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sounds like something I'd do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's no amount of drugs I could take to where I would be high enough to understand what the fuck she was saying. But I'm just fascinated by people like this, right? Yeah. I'm like, oh, you talking to Baphomet girl? Oh, tell me all about it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And, you know, I talked to her a lot about my experiences with the occult and some of the weirder things that have happened to me. And we were like jamming, right? Mm-hmm. And then she got into all that MAGA Pizzagate nonsense. No, it's a slippery slope into that every time.
One foot is in the Rosicrucian, the Knights Templar shit, and the other foot
is in Save the Children.
Yes,
and the Democrats are pedophiles. Yeah. I mean, some of them probably
and you're
walking
are towards flat Earth, and
she didn't go that far.
But it sounds.
And then she died.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
Lillian, where is this story going? What is happening?
Anyway,
I learned with Baphomet.
She's partying with Baphomet right now. I don't want to be mean. Her name was Tracy Twyman. You can look it up if you want. I'll link to some of her pages.
Okay.
She supposedly unalived herself.
Oh, to go be with...
No, because she was being stalked, like gang stalked.
Fuck.
Yeah, and I actually think that's possibly true. By her own followers, though, is what I think.
Oh, shit.
And I'm actually friends with a couple people that knew her a bit better than me, and it turned into there was lawsuits involved. It went real ham. It went real crazy. Wow. And to this day, there is no public notice about her death that was widely reported on in like the conspiracy theory circles and like the paranormal radio circles and stuff. And anyway, the reason I bring her up is because everything I learned about the Knights Templar, I learned through Tracy Twyman.
Oh my god.
But the real Knights Templar...
I see how you were like adjacently connected to it there.
I'm adjacently connected to this weird shit, and I don't know how I feel about it. I was never going to be in a cult. I was just like talking to weird folks, y'all. That's it. I find them interesting.
Tiptoeing around them.
Yeah, like, what's the...
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
just
that's
peeking.
too crazy. Gotta
just
go.
Just looking.
Gonna dip.
How'd you get in here? No, I don't want to get in. Just looking.
Oh, I'm just...
window shopping.
Anyway. Oh, I left the oven on. But yeah, so the Knights Templar basically was the Catholic Church's military in the 12th century. And they were formed in 1119. So, you know... Long ago. And they fought the Crusades. It was their job to guard the Holy Grail. They never had possession of it, but that was their job.
But that's why the Masons go hand in hand, because they literally have to like
this has Masonic stuff in it too.
Yeah.
But anyway, like, so they fell in and out of favor frequently in Europe. And the last time they came about was like in the 1300s. They went on the Crusades, of course, again. But then it's rumored they started worshiping Baphomet. And that Baphomet is not actually a real demon, but an egregore that they created.
Okay.
Which is like a tulpa.
Yeah.
Yeah, we covered that. There's an episode on that we have. And that they did things like... Oh, God. Anyway, so what they would do is kiss a black cat's butthole... I don't know why. And then talk to this demon with titties, goat head. And that's... Anyway, the Pope didn't like that.
I don't like it.
It was called genuflecting.
Ew. What is that word broken down to mean?
It's a form of becoming, like, prostrate before a, like, deity or important person... like on your hands and knees. And they would do that, and they would kiss each other's buttholes, and they'd kiss a black cat's butthole. I don't remember why. I'm just sharing this with y'all, because this is what this cult is founded on.
Butthole kissing.
I don't know. Anyway, they're supposed
to carry on their tradition?
I don't know. Because, like, some of the rituals were filmed.
Is this where you get your saying?
What? Lick my butthole?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No. But I mean,
Before Baphomet.
I was saying lick my butthole before I knew about any of
before
that.
the 1950s, yeah.
I've always been saying it. So basically, the Pope got mad at them. And
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
would
it was
too.
because they started this cult, although it's possible.
You don't think it was the buttholes?
I don't think the Pope knew about that part.
I think
They were very
I think
secret
the Pope,
about it.
Pope would be pretty proud of them, honestly.
No, it's Satan-y. Can't do Satan stuff and Christian stuff at
I
the
meant
same
the
time.
butthole stuff. I wasn't talking about
Oh,
Satan.
right. Well, anyway, don't derail.
Sorry.
So, yeah, the Pope got angry with them mostly because they just had too much influence, too much power, and too much wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And thus they were canceled by the Pope. If you're canceled by the Pope back then, you are just canceled from Earth.
Yeah,
They burned a lot of them alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the Knights Templar was finished until the 1800s, when a French doctor, whose name is so long and so French, I'm not even going to try because it's not that important, popped up and he was like, I'm a descendant of the Knights Templar.
And then recreated it?
And then he recreated the order, and there were lots and lots of different sects. And of course, after his death, a lot of those sects kind of went away, and there was only a couple, like a handful remaining. And so that's kind of what the Order of the Solar Temple combined, like some of the sects of the Knights Templar with Western mysticism and occultism and New Age shit. Basically, they like to wear a lot of white robes with red crosses, chant, meditate, and perform seances.
The first part sounded like the KKK. The last part sounded like cool shit.
It's not KKK shit, because they wore red robes and black ones too. We just getting all the colors, you know what I'm saying? But yeah.
It sounds like the premise of it could be really cool, but it turned douchey.
It turned douchey real fast.
Yeah.
So Luke and Joseph were very selective as to who they recruited into the Order of the Solar Temple. They believed they were the descendants and guardians of the Knights Templar, and they had to guard the Holy Grail, which has never been found, so it's pretty hard to guard something that probably doesn't exist. But I digress. Or what? Jesus gonna come in here?
Guard it.
I'll put more holes in that motherfucker. Yeah, offensive. Yeah. So Luke and Joseph believed that only a select few humans on the earth were supposed to hear their teachings. And one of the prerequisites for joining the Solar Temple was that you had to have a whole lot of money.
That's usually
Lots of money.
The number one thing to get into a cult.
Money.
Give me your money.
Yes. That way you could make donations to the cult. So they could open up new chapters. And like I said before, Luke was the face of the Solar Temple, and he was far more charismatic than Joseph, who handled everything else. And he just went around hunting down rich folks. And you'd think, well, they're rich. Maybe they're smarter. No, they're not. They're really into this shit.
I've never thought that before.
Some people think that. Boomers think that quite frequently. The Order of the Solar Temple blended Christian, pagan, Western occultism, New Age beliefs that would see them through to the New Age for mankind. Well, according to them anyway. Joseph insisted he was the reincarnation of Moses, and it was his job to shepherd and guide his followers towards a new age of enlightenment. And his followers believed him. And somewhat in part because of the theatrics of the rituals and the seances, which were faked by Joseph. Now, do I think Joseph believed his own bullshit? Some of it, but not most of it. I think that him and Luke were just after money. I really, really do. At least, I just really think they were after money. And it became like a weird role play. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of vaudeville.
Oh, it's very vaudeville, this shit. It's very eyes wide shut, crazy robes.
Yeah, smoke and mirrors and
they
shit.
They filmed some of the rituals, too. And so I'm going to link to those if I can find them not in a clip of someone else's stuff already. Right. So this being the second round of cults that we've covered, I wanted to take a moment and talk about what sort of person joins a cult and what sort of person founds a cult. In just about every case, cult founders are maladjusted socially. They have dreams that never came to fruition, much like Joseph and Luke. Joseph wanted to be a musician. Luke wanted to be an athlete. Circumstance robbed them of those opportunities, and instead of finding a new passion or trying to find a way to make their dreams come true anyway, they elevated themselves apart from everyone else. Mm-hmm. That they were somehow better, smarter, chosen.
I was about to say chosen.
And they felt entitled to this shit. Cult leaders feel entitled to this because life let them down some way. Mm-hmm. They didn't get the girl. They didn't get the job. They didn't get the dream. But by God, no, now they're God. So there. And I think that has a lot to do with it. This sense of entitlement coupled with maladjustment and social problems, money problems.
Compensating.
Overcompensating. Yeah. Yeah. So
I think like masculinity issues, even in female cult leaders, it's a masculine issue of like, I need recognition.
Yeah, because I'm special.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how special I am. I'll show you.
Yeah, I am so powerful. Look at me.
It's real vomity. Mm-hmm. I don't like it. And I think the two of them would have never formed the Order of the Solar Temple if they hadn't met. Because Joseph just didn't have the charisma.
He didn't have the ability to actually make a successful cult.
But, like, Luke had no, like, oomph to make a cult.
Yeah.
It was Joseph's brainchild. He had already started and joined multiple cults in the 60s and beyond. And if you listened to this last Marist Monday, none of that would have been as popular if it weren't for Aleister Crowley. Mm-hmm. But I won't go down that rabbit hole again. No. But in meeting Luke, Joseph had what he'd been lacking. Charm. As for who joins a cult, I think we all sit and listen and be like, well, I wouldn't fall for any of that. You might, given certain circumstances.
I've almost joined so many cults by accident, it's not even funny. Like,
well, I started one on accident.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
But you're not a leader personality, and I am. Yeah. And, like, it's really easy to fall into that, to tell people what to do and give them advice and ideas. And you throw in, like, ritual magic into that, and you've got a real recipe for disaster. I'm glad I recognized, like, uh-oh, this is a cult. I'm going to run away. Mm-hmm. That's what I did. I ran away without literally telling anyone. But I think it comes from people who want the world to be different. Mm-hmm. I want the world to be different. I know a lot of you listening want the world to be different, but we feel powerless to make it different. Like, what do we even do? You just want somebody to tell you, what do I do to make the world a better place? To make my life better, to make it different. I'm so tired of all this shit. I'm tired of politics. I'm tired of capitalism. I am ground to dust under all this crap, and I don't feel important or special or that I matter or anything I do will change anything. That's how you get suckered into joining a cult. But I think if you have these feelings, instead of and two, knowing that if you try and do something different or if you're different, then you won't be accepted by most people anymore. They'll think you're weird. But if you join a cult, you're in your own special little group where everyone thinks just like you. I think it's attractive. And
I also think it ties back to our just innate nature of community.
Yes.
Like, a lot of people like me who didn't really have, like, a family that they belonged to. Mm-hmm. They didn't really have, like, a community that they belonged to. Because I've always been considered a mutt. Like, I've never had, like, an actual, like, ethnic group of people that was for sure that I was part of. I'm adopted and, all these different things. And so I was really drawn to communities and groups of people that would accept me.
And I was always drawn to starting communities.
Yes.
Groups like, ooh, let's have a writers group, or let's do this to help other people.
Have a D&D group.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm always the group starter. You're the group joiner.
Yep.
Is kind of how the podcast... Oh, no, the podcast's a cult!
Shit.
No, it's not. Anyway, the point is we don't denigrate people who start cults, because all of us are susceptible at one point in time in our lives when we're at a low moment, when we feel alone, and we want to feel like we belong. Just saying. Moving on. In 1982, Joseph fathered a child with a woman named Dominique, who would later go on to be a member of the Order of the Solar Temple. He named this child Emanuela. He believed this child, a daughter, was a divine gift from a higher being. He said Emmanuel was a cosmic being who would usher in the new age. Man, he loves saying that shit. And Solar Temple members were led to believe that she was conceived via Immaculate Conception.
Okay.
Yeah. So, of course, they thought she was a divine being who would usher in a new age. Her birth had been a miracle. Members of the Order of the Solar Temple were upper class and upper middle class people. They had a lot of influence and money. Most of the members had become bored with regular religions and didn't feel at home in church. They wanted to be a part of something new and exciting. And I find it curious how many wealthy people get suckered into cults. Maybe money doesn't buy happiness after all. Or maybe since they were already rich, they considered themselves better than most other people, the poors. And now they were in a special club that proved just how much better and more evolved and more special they were. Mm-hmm. That was kind of the rhetoric of the Order of the Solar Temple. You have money because the divine higher beings gave it to you because you're special and chosen and better and more evolved than everyone else. This creates a really dangerous environment because everyone else outside of the cult or anyone who were to leave the cult is less than human. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of that talk. The Order of the Solar Temple had sects in several countries. France, Switzerland, England, and Quebec.
I thought you said sex.
Nope.
Sects.
Yeah. Learn to hear.
Yeah.
They needed new management for their international chapters, so 33 of the higher level members of the Order of the Solar Temple were handpicked for this. Around this time, Joseph got the idea that because his daughter Emanuela was a higher being, that any child born of a union of his choosing would also be a cosmic being. Let that sink in. Meaning, he took members of the cult, matched them up, and made them bang and have a baby. As soon as a child was born out of this union, he would split the couple up and rearrange them again. Yeah, not good. Not good.
That's so shitty. That's like evil Sims.
Mm-hmm. He told his followers the children from these pairings would be special and would be born to assist Emanuela in ushering in this new age of peace and enlightenment. Wow. Yeah.
What happened to the children once their parents were split up?
I mean, the mom
Cults
raised them.
never care about
No,
the kids.
they don't. No, they don't. They super don't in this one. None of those kids live. Spoiler alert. I don't think any of them.
Oh my God. Like past infancy?
Some of them were babies. Some of them were older. This gets bad. Yeah.
I'll let you keep talking.
So while Joseph was doing this, Luke went on tour. He ran seminars and classes on all of his BS philosophies and dogmas. He was a motivational speaker after all. These were just events that were thinly disguised recruitment efforts for the Solar Temple. Now, Joseph and Luke's friendship had started to get fucky. Luke didn't really agree with any of that special breeding program shit. He thought it was weird, and he's like, it's going to create problems and drama. Yeah. And it fucking did. Yeah. And, Joseph was like, no, the divine beings told me. And Luke kind of wanted to just say, look, dude, we're kind of conning, we're conning. It's bullshit.
Yeah, you can drop the act, man.
Kind of, but then he kind of bought into it at the same time. He kind of went back and forth. Who knows? But they started not really agreeing with each other. And this is kind of the beginning of the end. And it confused their followers. Yeah. When a new member joined the Order of the Solar Temple, they were given books that no one else but members had access to, just like fucking dumb. Basically, the books were just things that Joseph and Luke wrote, like their rituals and shit. And it's just taken from a lot of, other practices. Yeah. These bitches ain't ever performed an actual occult ritual a day in their life.
It's kind of like the Mormon Manson one where they all had different books that they were given by their and it's just knockoff versions of
They also had a very elaborate initiation ritual, and these were filmed so that initiates could keep them. However, Joseph would have the faces of other members blurred or obscured, which was probably a good idea. But it actually made investigating all this later real hard. Real difficult. Yeah. To this day, we don't know if any more of these people are even around. They might be in secret. Yeah. During these initiation parties, Joseph would tell his followers he was representing a higher being and delivering messages from this entity to them. Only he could do this. And I swear every cult leader does this shit. But here we are. Another thing the Order of the Solar Temple believed was that Jesus was a solar king, a sun king. Remember the whole Akhenaten shit? It's coming back. And he would soon be returning to Earth once the followers of the Solar Temple made the Earth ready for him. So what, like fluff a pillow?
Make my bed so I can come home and
clean the table off? I don't know. Now, so far, we've covered way worse cults, but don't worry, this gets bad. Of course it does. During this time of recruiting and these weird breeding programs, Joseph and Luke were asking members to donate lots and lots of money because this pleased the divine beings. Because divine beings give a fuck about money. But anyway.
I mean, that's what my Baptist church told me, so.
They don't. As donations poured in, Luke and Joseph established new lodges where they would install their most trusted members to run it. It wasn't until the early 90s that members started getting antsy. Joseph had made a lot of promises. He said higher beings would come down and give them instruction, or he promised the return of Jesus. Yet years and years had gone by and nothing had changed. Some members began to question Joseph especially. People wanted to know where their money was going. By the early 90s, the Solar Temple wasn't opening any more lodges, and they weren't really recruiting as hard as they had been. Still, Joseph and Luke asked the members for donations anyway, so where was it going to? In addition to that, Emanuela was now a preteen and was real done with her dad's shit. She didn't believe in any of it, and in fact went and told the members, like, he's faking, like, the seances and shit.
I love her.
Yeah. Emanuela turned on her father, and that pissed him off really, really bad. Luke told some members that some of them were reincarnated light beings who had come to Earth with a very special mission to fulfill, but then they were never given the mission and never discovered what it was supposed to be. All the promises of this new age and ascension and light beings amounted to precisely nothing, and the members had spent all this money, and for what? Nothing. And then people started leaving, especially with the breeding program shit. Like, he would break up couples, like husband and wives, boyfriends and girlfriends. In 1991, a former member of the Order of the Solar Temple filed a lawsuit against the cult. The lawsuit to try and get some of their money back. The Order of the Solar Temple started bleeding members, losing people left and right. This only got worse when Luke got arrested in Canada for trying to buy illegal guns. What was he doing that for? Investigators would later say if Luke had been successful, the Order of the Solar Temple would have gone on a killing spree. That was their plan. Just mow down the lessers,
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. By 1992, too many promises had gone unfulfilled. Joseph's health was in bad shape as well. He'd been diagnosed with cancer and had kept it a secret from the cult, but he was now, so sick he was incontinent. With his health, he's dying. He is dying, actively. With his health going downhill, losing members all the time, Joseph and Luke decided it was time to do something to restore their followers' faith in the order. Because with less members, it meant less money. And not only that, heat was getting on them for being a cult, the government.
Well, and when they lose their control is usually when they start
they're beginning to lose control, and they're spiraling out.
Yeah.
And Joseph's dying.
Yeah, so he's really spiraling
So you think he ain't going to want to take everybody with him?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Luke and Joseph started to prepare for what, you ask? The transition to another world. They always do this shit.
Every single one.
Just about. It reminds me really of Heaven's Gate quite a lot. They started preparing by choosing special followers they believed were good enough to join them in the new world. And these followers weren't special. They were just people who would follow instructions to the letter to their death.
Yeah.
That's important. So put a pin in that. They taught rituals to prepare for transition to these special followers. While preparations were being made, Luke and Joseph decided that it was time to get revenge on one of the members who had left the cult.
Okay.
I know, right? It seems so petty and so stupid.
It is. It's so high school, but they're adults.
They first went after a former member and his family. He was a 34-year-old Swiss man, and his wife and his infant child. They were the Detroit family. On October 3rd, 1994, the entire family was murdered in Quebec. They had left the order when the wife, Nikki, had become pregnant. Joseph had forbade the couple from having a child together because he hadn't matched them together to have a baby. In fact, he demanded that she terminate the pregnancy and break up as a couple so he could match them with other members. Naturally, they said, fuck this, and left the cult. But this isn't why he had them killed. They had named their baby Christopher Emmanuel, and Joseph couldn't have that. Joseph took this as a personal insult and a challenge against him.
Christopher is Christ, Emmanuel.
And he named his daughter Emanuela. Yeah. And so he thought they were trying to say, no, I've given birth to the cosmic being that will usher in a new age, and it was a grave insult. And so he said that the baby that they had, the 3-month-old infant, was the Antichrist.
Jesus.
Members of the Solar Temple traveled to Quebec and went to the Detroit's apartment. There, they lured the couple to one of Joseph's chalets, and a chalet is just a Switzerland-style cabin, cottage type thing.
Oh. I always thought it was a car.
No.
Wow, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. See, you learned things today. You learned things.
I learned it.
Here, they forced the couple to watch as they stabbed their 3-month-old in the heart. Because that's the only way you can kill the Antichrist. The baby's parents were then killed too, the same way. 5 days later, the cult would set fire to the chalet, trying to destroy evidence. When investigators arrived to the scene, it was hard to tell just what had happened to the family or even their identities, given how badly the bodies were burned. And they didn't really start putting everything together until more deaths would occur. On October 4th, 1994, 23 people were found dead in a chalet, which is, like I said, just a cottage in Switzerland. The chalet was also on fire. 18 of the 23 people were found in one room, their corpses arranged in a circle. They were wearing strange ceremonial robes. Before these people had been shot to death, they'd been given tranquilizers. Joseph told followers arranging their bodies in this way was pleasing to the higher beings. That they were killed, no, but transitioned to the new world.
Dear God.
Amongst the dead were a mayor and his wife, a well-known reporter, and Joseph DeMambro himself. Well, he's dying anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Less than 100 miles away, just an hour later, 25 bodies were discovered in 2 chalets that had also been set on fire. Most of the bodies were in one room, arranged in a circle, just like the first. They had all...
What, 50 now?
Yeah, well, there'll be more. They had all been shot after having been given tranquilizers. Whoever was left alive arranged the bodies, then set the buildings on fire and burned to death. Out of the 52 people that died, only 15 were suicides. And those 15 suicides were the only cult members who knew they were going to die that day. These were the special cult members, handpicked by Joseph, who would lead the transition. The others that died had no idea what was going to happen to them. The 37 people murdered thought they were just taking drugs that would enhance their spiritual experiences and communications with the other side. Luke and Joseph were among the suicides. Remaining members of the Solar Temple fled. Police were left with no one to charge for this heinous crime. The remaining members should have faded into obscurity, lucky to be alive, but that's not what happened. The following year, 16 former members who had not been invited to the Great Transition were found dead in a forest in France. They'd taken their own lives. Supposedly. There's some debate on that. Still, police were left with no one to charge. They tried finding out who had taken over the Order of the Solar Temple after Joseph and Luke killed themselves, but they'd been unable to do so. And someone had. We just still to this day don't know who. Or if they're still alive, or if this cult is still in operation. It is suspected it might be.
Because it could be one of the people that committed suicide, but you never know.
We don't know. On March 22nd, 1997, 3 years after the first, mass death, 5 people died in Canada. They'd been burned alive on the spring equinox, supposedly by suicide, but that's debated.
On the equinox?
Yeah.
Sun god stuff.
Sun god shit.
Yeah.
That was the end of the Order of the Solar Temple, probably. 74 people died. 11 of those were children. Both founders were dead, and that should be the end. Tragic as it is, but we can never be completely sure.
74?
Mm-hmm. Joseph and Luke had convinced their followers that the end of the world was coming, and the only way to escape it was to transition, die, and go to a new world. And because the followers began losing faith, and Joseph was dying, he just had to take them all with him. Emanuela was also killed. When Joseph had his last supper with his favorite followers, she was only 12 years old.
He killed his own daughter?
And his wife, yeah.
Jesus. I mean,
well, his girlfriend. He had been married and had another child before, but they weren't a part of the cult. I didn't include them because, like, they don't need the heat. Yeah. They don't need any more attention, you know? And I believe she's passed away now, so... Jeez Louise, cults, man. They suck.
It's insane. I mean, not insane, but intense.
It is intense.
Yeah.
And it's considered one of the most deadly cults in the world.
Yeah.
And it could be still operating today. We have no idea. They never tracked down who all the members were. I'm not even sure if all of the bodies were identified.
Well, it's kind of hard to have a cult without a main cult leader, but I mean, just about anybody.
They might, though. That's what I'm saying. They're pretty sure Joseph had appointed someone. But they don't
I mean,
know
just
who.
about anybody can stand in front of you and say, oh, I'm speaking on behalf of insert entity here.
Yeah, there's no way to know. There's no hard evidence. There's no computer evidence like there would be today because there were no computers. I mean, in the 90s there were, but they weren't in wide use.
How can you tell if there's an entity inside of somebody with a computer?
Mm-hmm.
With their electromagnetic shit?
No, I was saying like computer records, like maybe emails could be tracked, text messages, that sort of thing, to figure out. But all the paperwork and everything burned with the chalets, so they could still be out there, and that's fucked.
I really hope they have some common sense and it's died out by now. But that was just the 90s, so...
It wasn't that long ago.
It's not that long ago.
No. So there you have it. I think this is the last episode for Cult Month today. It is. Want to go ahead and announce our new theme, Willer? Did you forget it already? I'll do it.
You can do it.
I'm going to announce it.
She's going to announce it.
I'm announcing it right now. Mm-hmm. The theme for February is the missing. We're going to be covering missing persons cases. Some will be solved. Some will not be solved. You'll see the theme reflected in Patreon as well. Mm-hmm. I'm still going to cover, if you can't get enough occults, okay? And I'm still covering a couple on Patreon for this month and next. Same. You guys, like our patrons voted on some, and so I'm going to be covering some interesting cults. Also, our $1 tier, I'm going to be covering another cult on that probably tomorrow. So you can find that episode. If you join our Patreon, oh my gosh, it's business time. I just slid it right in there. You didn't even notice. That's how excited you were. Right in there. Like we was spooning, and I just slipped it in. Yeah, making it gross. So you know what's not gross? Our merch.
It's not. It's
not
really
at all.
cute.
It's really nice and cute.
Yeah.
You should order some.
The t-shirts are great quality.
They really are.
The design's really cool.
I'm going to say that's true.
Yeah.
Also, I'm going to leave. So just go to our link tree. Don't be scared of it. Just
we
a
have
place
everything
where
you can print on. So like cups,
blankets,
tote bags,
stickers,
hoodies. They're really soft.
They're really soft.
Long sleeve and short sleeve shirts, all the different types of sizes.
I have a t-shirt and a mug, and I've had them for like 2 years now.
The mug,
perfect
stuff
condition.
Doesn't come off at all.
No.
There's so many different like merch places that sell mugs, and the logos come off like within the first
And I hand wash all my dishes, and I ain't fucking around. I hand wash them pretty hard because I'm afraid of germs. And the design is still crystal clear and perfect. So, yeah, I'm really happy with that. So, if you want some merch, go get you some.
There's also coffee cups, too.
Do you want a tarot reading? Yeah, you do. Guess what, y'all? I'm doing video tarot readings, meaning you can look at my head and hear me talk to you.
Yay.
I want to show off the beautiful new tarot deck that was given to me by a listener for Christmas time. I cried. I could barely recover. Aww. It's by Fyodor Pavlov, which is like one of my most favorite artists ever. It is just stunning. And I want to show it off. So I'm going to be on video. And if you would like a video tarot reading, just hit me up. Just hit me up and I'll do that for you.
Cool.
I know. How fun. They take about 30 minutes to an hour.
Now is a really great time to get tarot
first
readings.
Of the year? Absolutely.
Well, that and like we have Pluto going into Aquarius. Today is a full moon in Leo. Like there's just a lot of stuff planetarily going on, if that's even a word.
Yeah.
The big balls in the sky are doing some crazy shit and it's affecting us. So it'd be good to get tarot readings just to prepare for it.
With the way that the planets are now, we're in a time of upheaval and change.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about. That's the theme for this year.
And getting tarot readings, for me at least, helps me prepare.
Also, they're kind of therapeutic, at least for me.
Like reassurance.
Yeah.
Reassurance. Because usually if I get a tarot reading, it's saying exactly what I think. And it's just reaffirming me that I am on the right path. I'm thinking the right things. I don't need to overthink this or that or the other. And yeah. Just proving where you're aligned.
Yeah, but this reading just buys an hour of my time. I'm going to pull 10 cards for you. That is a really comprehensive read.
She's so good at it too.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I like to think so.
You read people you read me like a book all the time. It's
Girl,
ridiculous.
you're just like one of them little golden books. It's like 4 pages long. It ain't hard. Oh, I'm so mean.
At least I was referred to as a golden book. I love those books. They smell so good.
I know. Just because it ain't long doesn't mean it doesn't have depth. Now you're gonna see. I'm gonna compliment you. If that's what you're asking for. Yeah.
At least I'm nostalgic and comforting.
That's true. Both things. You live in the land of nostalgia, and you're pretty comforting, and you have a nice message. See? Huh?
I'm cute as all hell.
And cute as hell. So, yeah, if you would like to book a video conference tarot reading with me, just hit me up. My email will be in the description box below. Also, in the description box, I will put a link to Maris's podcast, Reality. Y'all have said some real funny shit on that podcast, and you are missing out. You want to hear me just be mean for 45 minutes? Because, these aren't sensitive social issues.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of dumb jerks on TV, and I can make fun of them.
It's not your research. It's not your, time and effort, basically. It's just you
dunking on these people. I do an old Greg impression.
I'm proud of you. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very funny.
I love old Greg.
I, too, love old Greg and would drink Bailey's out of a shoe. I am going to go to a club where they wee on each other, though. I'm right out on that. Yeah. But, yeah, if you want to listen to me be ridiculous and hear Maris be the host of a show, which is very cute, then you will go to the Reality Podcast. It's on Spotify and many other places. I don't remember now because it's a lot. So, yeah, join our Patreon, join our Discord, buy our merch, get a reading.
Join our Instagram.
For the
join
love
our
of God.
Facebook.
Yeah.
But yeah, follow us on Instagram. I'm getting up to date with it.
You better.
I say that every episode, and I try.
If you don't, I'm just going to come over to your house.
So good for the first 2 years, every single day.
I know. And then you
clockwork. My life fell apart, and I haven't gotten back into the swing of things yet.
Well, I've given you time. And if you don't do it this time, I'm going to come take a shit in your house, not in the toilet.
Okay, I deserve that.
Yeah, just a big greasy poo. I'm going to eat a lot of dairy beforehand.
That doesn't agree with you.
No, it doesn't. I'm lactose intolerant as a motherfucker. But listen to me. If all you can do to support this podcast is listen.
The fact that you're listening right now just really means a lot.
It does. Really Thank you. But if you're on YouTube, there is something you can do, and it's free. It's only going to take a minute of your time. You're going to hit the like button. You're going to hit the little notification bell. You're going to subscribe.
Please.
And whatever else you can do. Comment, too.
Share it with your
nicely.
friends.
Share it with your friends. Share it on social media.
Share it in social media groups.
Because I'm tired of being poor. Sucks. And the less poor I am, the more pod I make. You see? Because then I could dedicate all my time to it. Right now, I'm just trying to fucking live. And it's not compatible with the lifestyle that I want. So, love you guys. We'll see you next time. Us on your social media platform of choice. Linktree/cruelty has all of the links. Check out our Patreon for exclusive episodes, merch, ad-free episodes, live ghost hunts, and much more. Please be sure to subscribe. New episodes are uploaded weekly. Thank you so much. See you next time. Music and production by Libby.